In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Ritz Furniture specializes in quality furniture for affordable prices. Our extensive inventory highlights top brands and provides everything you could ever want. You can count on us for kitchen, dining, bedroom, and living room furniture, no matter what the style is you have in mind. Stop in with your family and look at our amazing selection to find the perfect fit for your home. Contact us today to see how we can make a difference in your home.
Welcome into, we'll call it week 0 of Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference, presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West with Brandon Stevens. Brandon, it's been a long time since we've been on the show, but it feels good to be back. I was looking outside on my porch earlier this morning. I actually had to take my leaf blower out there because we got some leaves starting to fall off the trees. I woke up this morning at like 6:30, and it was like, I think it was in the 50s, low 60s, so it's cooling down. Starting to feel like football season.
Yeah, when you start feeling those cool, well, I mean, in comparison, when you've been waking up in the summertime and it's been like in the 70s and now it's like in the 50s, it's a cold day. So, but anyhow, that's a sign that we're getting ready for the fall. And it's and I noticed driving back through, visiting a few high schools in the area, but coming back through the valley there, leaving Andrews High School, I can see some different colors on the trees already. So yeah, I think it's going to be the calendar is saying what fall starts sometime in the middle to late September, but I think it started already. So it's a good time of the year, and it's a good time to start talking one of our favorite sports, football.
Before we start talking about our week 1 slate of games, let's talk about some things that we drew up this offseason heading into the year. Our preseason media awards, preseason player of the year. It's not often that player of the year award would go to a lineman, but Insay Ufert is just that kind of guy. He makes that sort of impact on both sides of the football when he's out there. The lineman from Swain County, I mean, you can feel his presence on defense when he gets in the backfield, and he's probably one of the top linemen in Western North Carolina. I know he gets his recruiting is picking up for his throwing of the shot put in track and field, but I would say that his recruitment will pick up here this season for his line play on the football field.
Well, I'm going to tell you something else. There's one thing even off the field that I don't know if people know, but you know he's football, he's track and field, and I was talking with Coach Holt this past week. So really, I think based on what I'm hearing inside the whole circle there, he's actually being highly looked at for his track and field, his shot put discus performance. Well, but also the one thing I wanted to point out, this guy's a really smart guy too. One of his goals is to become maybe a doctor. So he's looking at some good schools. He's got like a 4.3, 4.5 GPA. I hope that's not, state secrets or anything like that. But I just want to point out that, this guy is a really smart guy and he's got a lot going for him. So yeah, I'm, besides the performance on the field in football, I totally agree with player of the year here because he's got so many different assets and he offers so many different things in addition to football. So yeah, Insay, I hope he has a really good season this year.
Athlete of the year kind of goes up there. I mean, to me, player of the year and athlete of the year are kind of synonymous. Player of the year is just um, one of them. One of them is kind of like your Heisman, and then the next one is the guy that kind of would have finished second in that race. And to me, that's Bryce Adams because of what he can do on both sides of the football. He's going to lead the Black Knights under center. He'll be their quarterback, and he led the entire Smoky Mountain Conference in tackles last year. Defensively, he is a real threat, and he's already had some experience running the offense for the Black Knights when Carpenter was hurt 2 years ago. So I think he's going to really, really show out this year with a full season of being able to call this offense.
Well, I think that there were a couple of different pieces to the bandwidth of Robbinsville. Bryce Adams obviously is the next man up when you're talking football. I mean, he's got the assets. The only other person I would have thought would have maybe floated into this position might have been Roman Jones. But then when you look at his performance on how he runs ball, and we can talk about this a little bit more when we flip the script over to Robbinsville. But I think they have a lot of good options. But Bryce Adams, though, probably a natural point for leadership for this team. So, yeah, I think that this is an excellent decision here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would have kept him from winning a preseason athlete of the year would be if he was the preseason defensive player of the year, because that's how good he is on defense. But also with him running the quarterback position for the Black Knights, I think athlete of the year just encapsulates everything that he is able to do. Offensive player of the year, Cameron Clem, he is going to get a heavy, heavy workload coming out of the backfield for the Murphy Bulldogs.
I think there's some options. I mean, this time of the year, there was a thought of having him and Jonah Hedden in the backfield, but I think there's another option to that backfield with him, and now Murphy Bulldogs working a bit with Cadence Leatherwood, who has played some offensive running back. But let's talk about, I mean, the idea here is whatever the dynamic duo that comes out of that misdirection of the wing T for Murphy. Cameron Clem is a salient feature to that. He showed us that he had really good skills as a freshman. Now a sophomore, he almost had like 1,000 yards rushing because most of the touches went to Hunter Stalkup last year. But I think he's going to be the next man up that you're going to see, not only just for the Murphy Bulldogs, but throughout the conference. He's going to be, and he's grown in size. Looking at him, since practice started back up, Cameron Clem has all the tools to be a leader and probably even break some records before he gets out of high school.
Defensive side of the ball over in Clay County, Trey Graves, another guy that made an impact last year as an underclassman. Him and Taylor McClure split the reps at running back. Trey had over 1,000 yards, but on the defensive side of the ball, Taylor McClure was the leader for the Jackets, and that's going to be up to Trey Graves to step up and fill that role. And I think with everything he showed last year, all the promise he showed, he's going to be able to fill that role pretty flawlessly.
Oh, there's no doubt here, and I think this is really he's going to be a good example of defense, and I think really for him, and that's going to be really really a big key for the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. They had so many close games last year, and somebody like him, you want to have him in the toolbox. So yeah, Trey Graves again, the selections here, totally agree with.
Last one, lineman of the year. We've already got one Swain County lineman on our preseason award list, and now we've got another one, Grady Lewis. They're the two best linemen in the Smoky Mountain Conference. Swain County has the best line in the Smoky Mountain Conference across the board, and Insay Ufert and Grady Lewis are a big part of that. I talked around to some other folks, tried to see what their thoughts would be on, who they thought the best linemen were in the conference, but a resounding support for Grady Lewis behind NC Ufert.
Yeah, Jake, I think you one thing that you said, if you really look at the core of how many men, the 7 to 8, even maybe 9 men that are in the box for Swain County, number one, they're big, they're athletic, and it's almost like pick one of those 6, 7, 8, 9 people that are going to be in the box for Swain County, and you could probably plop them into this, probably into defensive or the line player of the year position. But Grady Lewis last year did so many really good things for defense. I mean, neglect Insay because you got him as player of the year, but Grady comes up and he's the next man up. So I think hands down, really just about anybody there from that core area of Swain County. The only other person or people that I might want to pick out, might be like a Titan Tees-Teskey or somebody like that from Robbinsville, but Grady's going to do the job. He'll do the work.
That's a good segue into our first game of 2024. Swain County at Charlotte Country Day. You got an interview with Coach Sherman Holt. We'll listen to him talk about the game first, and then we'll give our synopsis when we come back.
Coach Holt, how is the first scrimmage you guys took on Mountain Heritage? Tough team.
Yeah, Mountain Heritage is real good. Coach Robinson does a good job up there. They're very well coached, and he's got a lot of senior players. I think close to 20 seniors on that team. So he's got a pretty good group. They're real big, physical. They get after you, and so we fared pretty well. I thought we done good. We got to clean up a couple of things. But in scrimmages that's to be expected. But felt like our offense was very efficient, moving the football, getting to the end zone several times. And then defensively, just being a little more disciplined with our eyes and trusting what we're seeing in front of us instead of guessing, I guess you could say. But for the most part, was real pleased in our scrimmage. And, Mountain Heritage is a good team, so that was a good measuring stick.
You said big and good and that sort of thing, but you're that way up front, and at least in the box there, you got a lot of big guys and looking for a little bit of speed. You might have a little bit of speed in Glassby. Talk about your team for a second.
So yeah, we graduated one offensive lineman. Everybody else up front to back had a couple guys that were on our JV team last year that were that'll be sophomores that got some playing time too. So feel good about our trench people just because they've got a lot of experience. NC Ufert has done good for us for 2 years now. Expecting a lot out of him in his senior season. And then defensively, we're pretty big in the box. We might have lost a step or two as far as our speed in that category, but we're real big and physical, and so we're just trying to get the best 11 guys on the field offensively and defensively. And so for us, we've tweaked a little bit and moved some defensive ends to linebackers just to kind of free up space for other guys to play that we feel like are good enough to play, in certain spots. But offensively, we feel good about Zeke. He's a little speedster, and he can run, and he's got real good vision. And so he's going to be one that we rely on in the backfield a lot.
So you excited for the season?
Yeah, we're excited. It's always kind of touch and go until you get here, because you don't want to rush the process because you feel like, well, we got to get this, and this done. But, it's been a long time since we've played under the lights in Bryson City, so we're ready to scratch that itch this Friday. So we're looking forward to it. We're excited for our kids, and I think our kids are excited to start playing real games.
Coach, go Maroon Devils.
Go Devils.
Coach Holt obviously had a lot of good things to say about the work that the Devils did this offseason. He mentioned how good the offensive line was going to be. And then he mentioned Zeke Glassby, who's going to be running the football for the Maroon Devils. He's got some big shoes to fill with the graduation of Joshua Collins and Josiah Glassby. What do you think heading into this game against Charlotte Country Day? Brandon, just give me your thoughts.
I think the biggest obstacle that the Swain County Maroon Devils work with, it's a long doggone trip to go to Charlotte Country Day. It's about 3.5 hours. If you and I just got in the car from where we are and drove there, 3.5 hours, but then, you're going to have to stop. You're going to have a couple snacks. You're going to have a, a relief break here and there. Maybe you stop somewhere and do a run through. So pretty much your whole day on Friday is going to be shot trying to get to Charlotte Country Day. Charlotte Country Day, not the most glorious season last year. 4-7, 1-2 in their conference or independent conference. Swain County had a doggone good season last year. 11-2, 4-1. They beat Charlotte Country Day last year, 34-0. Again, I look back at my notes from middle of August last year, and that's when Swain was, looking at, and it's the same script that Sherman Holt's talking about. They're tall, they're athletic, they play spread. They have some advantages. They had a lot of seniors this year, not so much. It's more of a younger team that comes out, but it's going to be a team that's got some speed. Speed will obviously be a big threat to Swain County. The one thing that that Swain could use in their stew pot for making the great sauce for football this season would be a little extra speed. They're going to rely on. I think pretty much Drew Cody seems to be dialed in at quarterback. I don't know if John Stevenson is going to. He might take a few reps here and there, but I think pretty much the way I'm seeing it, the way I'm hearing, the way I'm feeling it with talking to various coaches, looking at their practices. It looks like it's maybe his job to lose, but he does a pretty good job. So otherwise you've got totally big people in the box with Insay. Couple of the couple of goals that Sherman Holt has set out. Ball security last year, and the year before. Leading into most of the conversations we had, we didn't take care of the ball. We fumbled here. We didn't have things that executed well. So ball security, eliminating the penalties, playing with some grit, and playing big on defense. Those are the 4 goals that Coach Holt has laid out. And I think getting into Charlotte Country Day, they now have some experience. Khalil Wright is going to be their quarterback. Carson Bradway and Sam Jacobson will lead them. And as far as, not the biggest set of guys, their average line is about 210 up front. Otherwise, they have some really good defenders. This is probably one of the biggest things that you'll see out of Charlotte Country Day is a set of more experienced defensive players. So get a few extra steps, get a little extra speed, try to muscle your way around, knock some people around, get some hats to the ball. But I still think this could be a big Swain County win. But as I stated at the beginning, the biggest piece is just actually knowing how to work the guys, getting them on the trip to Charlotte Country Day, because it's a long way to go. And, there are a couple other schools that have long trips this week.
So predictions, computer says Swain County versus Charlotte Country Day. Charlotte Country Day is a touchdown favorite, which I don't necessarily agree with. I guess that's at home field advantage, but my prediction in this one was more so like Swain 21, Charlotte Country Day 10. Now I will say this, Charlotte Country Day does have the upper hand in the fact that they have already played a football game this season. And then it will be at home, but I think more so like 21-10, something like that in favor of the Maroon Devils.
I was thinking more like 28-7, but really, I think this one it's not going to be the straight wash, the 34-0 like what it was last year, but I still don't think it's going to be lopsided, and I don't think you're probably going to see that many good plays coming from Charlotte Country. I think this is a Swain County ball game to lose, but I think it's going to be a little more far stretch. 28-7 is my prediction.
I talk about a game that was very close last year. Cherokee and Smoky Mountain. The Braves travel to Silva this year. The Braves lost a lot to Graduation, and then Jack Tistesky going to Franklin to pursue more of a basketball-oriented high school career. Smoky Mountain, a 14.5-point favorite by the computer's thoughts. Like I said, the Braves offense is going to need to be, some plug and play that's going to have to happen there. They do return some guys in the wide receiver core. Luke Smith, their tight end, he's very, very impressive last year. And they've got some other guys that if they can find a way to get them the football, Cherokee will be able to move pretty well. But and not that Smoky Mountain has the most impressive football team of all time at this point in their program's history, but I still think Smoky Mountain takes this win. I'm going to say 28-14. But I am interested to see what head coach Tim Hawkins and the Braves are going to put out on the field here in week 1.
Well, I think actually I'm kind of like mirror image of that. I would almost say 28-14 Cherokee. Now, the reason why I say that this is really a rebuilding year in so many different ways for Smoky Mountain. Damari Williams gone. He's so Isaiah McNeely. Those are your two leaders, either in backfield or wide receiving. They still have some really good talent with Jay Stillwell, who was younger last year. I believe he's a junior this year. He's going to be an all-star receiver. Jarek Jones, the younger quarterback that's coming in to fill the spot. But the Smoky Mountain team is heavily young. I mean, it's got a lot of young, but it's young and experienced players. Eli Snyder, Sawyer Gribble, CJ Grant. A lot of these guys were freshmen last year, got some experience, and these were kids that were they were players that really played a lot. They were contributors. I think though there are probably Cherokee is in that same boat, but they'll have a couple different options. Jonathan Saylor is the junior quarterback. He should be the guy who has the job, but right behind him is a young fellow, Dawson Panther, who is just purely an athlete. He likes football, he likes basketball, he likes baseball, softball. But I think Brandon Santiago, Noah Waddy, there's going to be and I hope I'm getting the name right, Emilio Garcia. Those are probably the three running backs that Cherokee's going to have. The one asset that Cherokee has that they're young and they're quick. And I think just pretty much if they've got a halfway decent quarterback, they can do some really good things. And they'll have some mobility, I think, that to speed around. Also, don't forget, Cherokee generally has one of the bigger lines, one of the bigger cores. It's not always the most disciplined set in the trenches, but I think if they can get a few things dialed in, it's going to be. It may not necessarily be a 28-14 Cherokee game. If it's a Cherokee win, I might even say 21-14 Cherokee or 14-7. But I'm favoring Cherokee on this one.
Let's talk about the Black Knights over in Graham County. Robbinsville is going to travel to East Surrey, take on the Cardinals. They boat raced the Cardinals last year. The computer says this year it's going to be a closer game with Robbinsville favored by 7.5. The 2A East Surrey, it's on the road. But Robbinsville, I think they've reloaded. They've got a lot of firepower that a lot of people don't think that aren't privy to. So I'll let you talk more about this one.
Well, I think one last year, a spectacular season that Robbinsville Black Knights had 13-2, 5-0 in the conference, won the conference. East Surrey last year, everybody kept saying, "Oh, this is going to be a really tough." I don't know if Robbinsville is going to come out of this one alive. They're 2A champs, or they were close to it in the previous season. 8-4 last year, 5-1 for the Cardinals. But hey, 40-6, Robbinsville walked away with that one, and I don't see it much different. East Surrey is going to have a lot of juniors, a lot of younger players. They will play a lot of sophomores that don't have the experience. Luke Bruner is probably going to be the quarterback and the running back, or maybe a JB Davis, who was a freshman last year. But I think Bruner is going to be your quarterback. Uh, I still don't think they're quite as experienced. They will. Uh, like kind of like what we were talking about with Swain County a moment ago, I think that the biggest challenge that Coach Ford and Coach Walsh and the rest of the crew going to have to getting the Robbinsville Black Knights set and ready to go is going to be the trip. It's going because there's no easy way to get to Surrey County. You drive I-40, you take the interstate going north, and you have a couple of snack breaks, a lunch break, a relief break, and maybe a walk through. You're gonna spend most of your day just traveling there. But I think that this is another good game. Robbinsville take on the roads, and they'll spread out a little bit. But I think this is something that Robbinsville can do well. They got a nice confidence boost after this past weekend's ball game against TC Robertson. TC Robertson last year, a Titanic type team, had a lot of really, really good football players, and some of them signed. I know at least 6 or 8 of their football players signed last year, but a lot of them went out. It's not the same TC Robertson team that we saw, but it was a good performance. I believe it was 19-7. Robbinsville walked away with a good performance in the scrimmage at AC Reynolds this past Friday night. So I'm excited for Robbinsville. I thought that Bryce Adams did a really good job from what I could see with him, either calling the plays, passing. Roman Jones, I think he's another good one to watch for this season. I think Robbinsville will do well. It's their ball game to lose with East Surrey. I don't see. It'll probably be a much more improved football game. In this one, I'm probably thinking like 28-14. This is going to be Robbinsville. So to carry on, I don't see Jake right back in the step, but Robbinsville football, and taking a look, I think that the next one we're getting ready to talk about in this particular show. We've got Andrews, Hayesville, and of course Murphy Bulldogs. But in the and through looking at in the next game or two, probably the Andrews Wildcats getting ready to take on Rosman Tigers. Last year, Andrews not having the best year in the conference, 4-7, 0-5 in the season. Rosman 1-9 on the season. Coach Allen, former Murphy Bulldog, head coach of the Rosman Tigers after it went independent, and went 1-5 in the season. 35-0 win for the Andrews Wildcats. That particular point in the season. As you look into it, for Andrews this coming year, 16 seniors, 14 sophomores. They have 1 junior, 1 freshman. If you look at the Max Preps roster, you're not going to probably find the freshmen, but I think late additions. Still this year, some good talent that happens to come back through and is working quite well. Is Everett Tatham at quarterback? He'll be the senior and should be a good leader for the Andrews Wildcats. Eli Aguilar, a more seasoned running back and with some experience this year. These two should be the team leaders for last year, or for this coming year rather. Rosman. This year, really working to try to reload. One of the big game that they won last year was over the Owen Warhorses, 48-21. Looking to back build and go up from 1-9 and 1-5 in the season. So this year, I still looking at how this one's going to be played. This one's going to be played at Rosman. So again, longer trip. It's not the easiest way to. There's no easy way to get to Rosman from Andrews. Drive your way out to Silva, take 107, and hope you can stand the curves moving around through some of the way through Cashiers and out into to Rosman. Play the football game and then try to get home as safely as you can. But this one should be a good ball game for the Andrews Wildcats. Don't hear of any kind of major injuries or anything that's setting back the Andrews Wildcats. This one looks pretty good for Wildcats to start out the season, but with that, probably giving this one the same margin as last year. Might say 28-0, 28-7, but this is an Andrews football game. Flipping on down to Hayesville. Hayesville Yellow Jackets playing playing out with Asheville School for this past season. Hayesville Yellow Jackets finishing up 7-5 on the season, 2-3 in conference play. Let's take a quick look at what's been going on. Number one with Asheville Independent School. You don't typically see too much from these schools as far as like how they were doing. But let's in the previous year, 8-3, not bad. Is really a couple of the losses for Asheville came up earlier in the season. Christ School, Greenies, Christ Church Episcopal, Webb. Some of those that you probably will not know, but going through the major part of the season, Asheville School with big margins, 55-0, 63-0. 42-29, probably one of the closer games that they played against some of the teams in their league. But how they're looking for this coming year, this year as we take a quick glance, I'm trying to pull up their roster. A lot of seniors and just a couple of probably more seniors and some sophomores in this particular set, but some good experience for them. Ricky Tolbert is probably going to be their senior quarterback, and for last year, the stats show some pretty good production coming from this team, especially with some passing. Be ready to watch out for the for some of the total touchdowns, 15, and they're, I'm going to get the name wrong, but Hyzon Tobe and Justin Rowe, their previous junior receivers. This is a good passing team. The rushing yards, Caleb Jenkins, who graduated. Ricky Tolbert is probably the true package. He can run, he can pass, and otherwise they had a freshman running back, Tay Wadsworth. Last year, we'll see how they do. Tolbert last year had a total of 25 passes and pretty good defense. Pretty good little package for Asheville School. This one, it's kind of up in the air. This is going to be real close, 17-14, 21-17, and kind of flip a coin with these guys, either Hayesville or Asheville School. The Blues, as they're called. This could be a very good football game to watch because it'll be very competitive. And the one thing that we noticed from Hayesville last year is that while Hayesville lost a considerable number of or significant number of games, 5 games last year, and most of those coming within the Smoky Mountain Conference. The big thing that you want to look at is that, and it's still the same scrappy football team I like to see, is that they don't give up. This is Hayesville is a team that really came through, and you may have won a ball game against them, but you didn't win by very much, or they made you earn that win. So looking at the losses that came up, with the exception of Eastern Randolph in the state playoffs, Hayesville losing 26-20 to Robbinsville, 21-13 to Swain County, 21-14 to Murphy. The only big significant loss last year was to Pisgah, 32-7, but otherwise, getting out of the earlier season and getting into some more of the competitive games, it was a good Hayesville season. Christ the King 28-0, 14-6 Andrews, and a 17-0 win over the Cherokee Braves. This team is one that just doesn't relent. They will keep coming after you and after you. But this year, looking at Trey Graves and some of the other players that we've mentioned earlier on, this could be a nice breakout season for the Hayesville Yellow Jackets. All right, Jake, while you've been gone, we've talked about Andrews. We were cruising through Hayesville, but I'll back up for a second.
What did you say about? So we talked about Cherokee, talked about Swain, talked about Robbinsville. What did you say about Hayesville and Andrews? What were your predictions there?
Okay, backing up just a bit to Andrews. Last year was a 35-0 win. Rosman, looking at as we've talked about, there's a theme. It's like the biggest challenge you might have with winning the ball games would be the trip. No easy way to get from Andrews to Rosman. That's where they're going to play this year. But Everett Tatham, Eli Aguilar should be a couple of the two major players to watch in effect for the Andrews offense. Andrews, 16 seniors, 14 sophomores, one junior, one freshman. That you'll see on this football team. So really, there should be more experience, more with the leadership there. But Rosman last year, the single win was defeat. They defeated Owen 48-21. But I think Coach Allen out there hopefully has just picked up the team. They're moving up,
Yep.
making strides up. So maybe not a 35-0 win. I'll break it down and say 28-7. Andrews takes this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than some people would think. Looking at the past 5-8 years that Rosman has had. The only thing that I think I would say in regards to this game, you talked about the bus ride, and also just I feel like this game means a lot more to Rosman than it would for Andrews. Rosman has nothing to lose. Andrews, on the flip side of that, if they lose, they're the team that lost to Rosman, who has won one game in the past however many years. So Rosman's going to come out fired up. Andrews has that long bus ride. I think Andrews wins this one, but I think it's maybe closer, 28-14. They're 35-point favorites according to the computers, so the computers don't much think they think it's going to be a repeat of last year, but I think it will be a little bit closer. As far as Hayesville is concerned, they are a 21-point underdog to Asheville School, but I think that game's going to be closer than 21 points. Asheville School, I'm sure you talked about the independent school state champions last year.
Right.
But Hayesville's a lot of people's pick to play spoiler in the SMC, and they're going to get a huge test here in week one. The 21-point margin, according to the computers, a little bit too high for me, especially with the game being in Clay County. Maybe 31-21 Asheville. I don't think Hayesville is able to pull off the victory, but I do think it's within a score.
Well, just looking at the Hayesville production last year, and I think while you'd stepped away, I'm always impressed with Hayesville that they don't give up. And when you look at whether it's 23 season, 22 season, whenever it is, there aren't that many big games where you have it's Hayesville way out here and the other school way out here. You know, it's kind of flipped that way a little bit in the earlier part of the season with Hayesville winning over Towns County, Madison, and Georgia Forest. But even their loss to Pisgah last year, well, that was probably the most significant game. Otherwise, you lose to Murphy by a touchdown and an extra point. You lose to Swain County at the same margin. You lose or you win over Cherokee 17-0. You lose by 6 to Robbinsville. This is a team that if you win against them, they make you earn it, and it's not that big of a deficit where they lose. So, and there aren't that many different players from last year to this year. I think no, I think that's if Asheville wins this game, it's going to be by just ever so slight. I think it's maybe by a touchdown. And Ricky Tolbert is a fellow that's their quarterback who will move up, and rest of their team, it's either sophomores or seniors for this team. Asheville School is always talented. By one, you're getting into the independent. They can recruit a bit. They have the ability to manipulate because their players don't just come from Buncombe County. They come from wherever. So you get some of the best for football. But here again at Asheville School, they're not always wound up on athletics. It's like academics and and a good life balance. So, but still, they have a good football team. You can't deny that.
That's going to be a fun one. If I could go anywhere on Friday night, I'd probably be there because I'm really interested in what Hayesville has.
I agree with you. I think you're absolutely. This is going to be one of the more competitive games. This one, Cherokee Smoky Mountain. But let's move forward.
Moving forward, Franklin and Murphy. That's the game we're going to have live on fyntv.com. You've got an interview with Coach Brooks over in Franklin. Let's hear from him, and then we'll discuss.
Coach, I know you're excited to get the football season started. So tell me, what's a comparison and a contrast from last year to this year? What's improved? What's still in the works?
So not dwelling on last year, but last year we were terrible. We didn't do a good job coaching. We didn't do a good job playing. We were not very tough. We were very injury bound. So this year's team, the attitude's been completely different. That started all the way back in January. I love the attitude. I loved our effort so far. There's no question we're going to do a better job getting lined up. We're going to be a tougher football team. We're going to be more disciplined. And I hope we're going to be better coached. And all that should result in us playing better and giving ourselves a chance to compete in these games, because last year in 10 games, 6 of them, we didn't even have a chance. So we're just looking for a chance to be competitive, a chance to have the opportunities to play at 4 quarters, and if it comes out for the chance to win, that's what we want. But there's no question that this team's going to look a lot different than last year's.
Tell me about the powerful Panthers. Who's going to be the people to watch?
Well, I think Braden Hervey's got a chance to be one of the best backs in our league if he can stay healthy. And unfortunately, he broke his collarbone last year and missed 8 games. There's no doubt that he is probably our go-to guy, throwing the ball and running it. Also, Maverick, Waldroop, and Bryson Gibbs are going to anchor our offensive front. And those guys, along with a kid like Attic Sutton, who carried the ball for us, plays linebacker, and then a number of guys in our secondary. But at the end of the day, it's about us, and it's about those Panthers, as you mentioned, the name on the front of the shirt. And I can't wait to see how we respond to some adversity that'll be really tough early on in our season.
Coach, we'll see you Friday.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Coach Brooks pretty bluntly put it. Franklin was terrible last year. There's no way around it.
Yeah, he was not happy with the way that they finished up, and understandably so. That this was he's got some rebuilding, and he's doing it quite well. I think what he's talking about, he's got some youth and inexperience, but one of the things that you didn't see on or off the field, and he made that look relatively seamless trying to get through the season, was he did not have a full-time or a full JV coaching staff. So last year, the coaching staff had to do Ironman work. They had to coach the JVs as well as the varsity. So that puts a little extra strain because you're not always on the same page, or sometimes with the same work, and you're having to repeat a lot of things. So that takes a little bit of stress this year. He's got some good coaching work. He did step away from the post last year, if you recall. But I asked him, what kind of brought you back, and there's that pride of wanting to, leave the camp better than what you found it. So Josh Brooks is one that, he's an excellent coach, and he's learned from the best. Had a good father that was a good coach, and then of course Fred Goldsmith, who really started the dynasty in the era of Franklin. But let's get forward to this, Jake. I think a couple of names that he mentioned. There's some there's some youth there. I think the Anderson Tyrell uh, and Brock Brady. Those are the two that you're going to kind of see duel for quarterback. I think Anderson Terrell is going to be the guy. Braden Harvey, Attic Sutton, some good mix of sophomore, or rather seniors and juniors in the backfield. Good size throughout the line. The average size for this line is somewhere around 232 to 250. That's the range of. But I think you're looking at the defense is going to be really special for this group this year too. So I think that this is going to be a much improved Franklin football team. It's not going to be the pushover that you saw from last year. And like Coach was saying, it was not a good season. It's not the best, and he's going to make it better.
Let's hear from head coach Joseph Watson on the flip side of things as the Bulldogs prepare for the Panthers.
Coach, it's week 1. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Excited about the game week finally, and our kids are excited about it as well. It's been a long preseason with just one scrimmage and a lot of practices to lead up to the first week. So the kids are excited and they're ready to get after it.
All the positions dialed in for Franklin this week?
Yeah, for the most part. We still have some kids battling for positions. There's some competition still there and trying to kind of whittle it down and see who's going to be starting at certain positions. But for the most part, yeah, we got it pretty much figured out.
Anything else? I mean, again, looks like everybody's doing quite well for the Murphy Bulldogs right now.
Yeah, the kids are responding to what we're asking them to do, and they're playing hard, playing fast. We always ask them to do that, and so they're figuring it out and trying to have a good week.
Go Bulldogs!
Go Dogs!
So Murphy, on paper, looks like the most sound team as far as there's not a lot of question marks. You know what you're getting with Murphy. I'm not saying they're the best team in the conference, but they are the one team that you know exactly what you're getting out of Brady Grant, Cameron Clem, the linebacker core, the defensive secondary, things like that. So, what are your thoughts on this game in particular? Not necessarily Murphy's season as a whole, but the game of the week on FYNTV.com, Franklin versus Murphy. It's at Murphy. Franklin's always got Murphy's number, it seems. But what are your thoughts this year?
Well, for a long time, it was really tough. I mean, going back into the Coach Gentry era, if you roll back the clock 10 years, the numbers still stack up for Franklin because it's been a Franklin dominated football season. It's just dry spell for the Franklin Panthers, but coming into this one, I think if you go and watch this football game, it's going to be an exciting game. I look at some of the diversity that Murphy had. A lot of times. One of the characteristics of a lot of these teams in Smoky Mountain Conference, you go to Swain and it was just Josh Collins, or if you go to Robbinsville, it was just Cutler Adams. Murphy was Hunter Stalkup. This year, I think that you're going to have some diversity, and Murphy comes along with, as I mentioned a little earlier, let the cat out of the bag bit, but was Cadence Leatherwood. I think is going to be one to watch. He'll run at fullback. Cameron Clem is going to be just excellent. So a good running bit for the Murphy Bulldogs. We know that's what Murphy has been a signature as a run team, but they're going to have some good targets for passing. This looking at Brady Grant, can he throw that long ball? Can he get the the rocket out there to a good waiting Ryan Payne. He's going to have a good target, and Will Shore for wide receivers, and then number one across the middle from tight end, Kenyon Nichols. Those are all they've shown either in the 7-on-7s or in the scrimmages that they were the three that scored the touchdowns, and did really well. So Franklin, on the other hand, this is going to be one that I don't know that how much they're going to launch some passes out to Lance Parker or Draylon Desarn, some of those guys. This is going to be a battle of running. Who can get through the line? Who can make defense is going to be critical on both sides. How do you plug the holes? How do you what technique do you get in here? Maybe there might be a belly play that comes and hits you in the face, but let's see this one down for what it is. It's going to be an improved Franklin football team, but I think it's also going to be you're not going to necessarily have one superstar for Murphy like you did last year. You're going to have several different tools that'll make a difference in the game.
Agreed. So what's the prediction here?
Prediction here for this one. I think that it may not necessarily be the larger scoring that we saw last year. 21-14, 28 to 21. I'm gonna keep it a little bit closer here. I think that this is going to be a learning process for both sides. Just basically clearing some cobwebs out of the closet and out of the attic. But it'll be a little bit closer, I think. This is a Murphy game, though.
I agree. It's a Murphy game. I think Murphy's entire season depends on how they set the tone here in game one, and I think they set it well. I think Murphy 35, Franklin 14. Murphy comes out, and hopefully, with the things I saw out of Murphy this offseason, Brady Grant has really improved. He's very, very fast. I hope that they run more of like the Seth Curtis style offense where they let him run around with the ball a little more and make plays with his feet. But I think Murphy comes out, sets the tone early, 35-14, the win at David Gentry Field. But that wraps up our game analysis. Anything else you want to say? I know we glossed over it when we talked about Swain, but Swain County, Gary Ayers is recovering. We want to say that our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Anything else you want to say, Brandon?
No, I think you hit it there. Wishing the best for Gary Ayers, and and I think really, as you mentioned, there were, looking at, I was thinking as you were talking about Brady Grant, is like, well, the only thing I was going to say about that, and was, and this could be said by a lot of different teams, is stay healthy. I a little reluctant to maybe run Brady Grant a little bit, because if he goes out, then who replaces it? And that might be like Adam Cook, who is also still recovering from some injuries from last year, a little ginger. But I was thinking about that whole thing with Swain, with Robbinsville, with Andrews, with Hazel, Cherokee, everybody. Really, this year, looking around the league, Murphy probably has some of the larger numbers. There's roughly about 40 football players playing for Murphy. A little thinner for some of these other schools. And I was thinking, like, the people that you have on the field, the bigger threat outside of just playing the games and saying, okay, well, they spread, or they've got a veer offense, or we've got a 50 or 40 set defense. The bigger thing you've got to watch out for as coaches, just keep everybody healthy and get through the season. And especially this early in the season, you don't want to have any injuries. But anyhow, no, I think that's it. I'm looking forward to just having watching good football, and I think we're set to probably see. So this will be a great season for a lot of folks, and I'm looking forward to getting into conference, and some people have some really good non-conference games. So ready to go Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad it's here. Football season is in the air. Brandon, thank you. As always, this has been Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference presented by Team FYN Sports.